Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Petri, and this show helps you to build your company. We are in this journey together, sharing knowledge, experience, and learning from each other. In this episode, I talk with Clanbeat founder Kadri Tuisk, how to build your startup together with your customers from the very beginning. Kadri's company has been getting a lot of attention lately due to the approach to COVID times. It has not always been a smooth ride, and she tells us how it feels when your co-founder leaves the company and you have some tough decisions to make. Hey Kadri.
Hey Petri.
So great to have you on the show.
It is. I'm so excited for our talk.
Where have you failed today?
Today, let me see. Let me count. My first failure today was not having my breakfast because I really had to make a really quick change into my schedules because of the one family thing happening in the beginning of next week, which takes me super off hours. So I had to cramp all those things I have to do beginning of next week and try to do it all once today. And breakfast is something I had to sacrifice. And it doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, it's a big sacrifice. Is it still the most important meal of the day?
Yes, exactly. I'm usually super religious about my mornings, so it's very important to me.
So what's the story behind the failure thing? Because I don't know, can anyone really love failure, but you have taken that into your heart?
Yes, I think there comes this kind of a feeling of being content with failures over time. And I think right now, the people more younger they are getting more used to it, because when we were in olden times, it was wrong to fail. But right now we have found out that very many learnings come from failing. So I embrace it, and I always try to find out what is this thing I can actually learn from it and how can I improve. So I love if something is fucked up a little bit sadistic, but this is the way it is.
Did you learn that by hard way, or was that always how you've been?
By hard way, because when you're growing up in Soviet times, then you're having this kind of social patterns where you have to fit, and failure was not one of them. And for example, overseas or even to America, where when startups fail fast is something which is highly appreciated. And in this kind of region where I live, I come from Estonia. Here you didn't see that too much. It has been very refreshing to find it out that this is also the way how to look at things.
So how was it in the Soviet times? You were not supposed to fail, or everybody's failing, or something between?
It depends on people. People had very steady jobs and had goals for the 5 years which they had to fulfill, and this was actually something which didn't make people to go out of their comfort zones in that sense. Although being in Soviet times is a really big, uncomfortable situation, but it didn't encourage people taking risks, and usually taking risks is something which failure is written into it. Otherwise, you don't learn or you don't find out what works and not. So being grown up in Soviet times, I think this is something we had to learn when we got our freedom, how to embrace that and how to deal with that. But I'm happy to see that this is gone to our hearts, and people are finding their peace with that finally.
Do you remember when was the first time you were thinking that maybe I will build a company of my own someday and really adventure the world?
Yes, I don't have this kind of exact date, but I remember that I haven't been thinking that I do need to have my own company, and I wasn't this kind of entrepreneurial type. But in the school in Soviet times, you were made to do a test. What are you becoming? And for me, the test showed that you're going to be entrepreneur. But I don't know if this defined this journey or not. But I really didn't think that making a company is something which is something I should do, but I did it because I really wanted to make an impact to the world, and this seemed the easiest way to do it because I couldn't be able to fulfill my dreams and bring the impact I wanted in my paid job back at the times when I made the decision. So this seemed the way to go for me that time.
You raised over 1 million round just a few months ago, and you're now pretty much killing it with your new concept and these exceptional times. Can you tell a bit about what your company does?
Yes, sure. Sure. Just a little specification. The round was raised almost a year ago already, and we have almost spent some of it already, and made a really big impact already. But my company, I'm the founder of Clanbeat, and we are building a growth and well-being solution for schools. So basically, we are supporting students and teachers for self-directed learning and how to set goals, how to act on them, and how to also reflect so you wouldn't get stuck and you would be able to design your life in a way that is fulfilling to you. And so in the longer run, schools would be able to offer personalized learning based on all this data, which we are able to provide based on what people are good at, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, what is their internal motivation, and how all the education is supposed to morph around the human needs. So this is what we are doing with our team.
You mentioned me before we went online that when the COVID hit, you basically couldn't sleep too much because there was so much to do. There was so much onboarding. Everybody wanted to get into the platform. Can you describe the feeling and what was happening and where are you now?
Yes, sure. One day before Estonian schools went into lockdown, we were sitting in the round table in the Ministry of Education, and we were discussing what is it needed for Estonia to be successful in this COVID period, and they mentioned that the teacher communication and keeping the teachers humanly connected in the time where we are apart seemed very, very important. And one of our products, which we have in our offering, is a teacher platform for their personal growth. And we had inside this possibility for very smooth communication and sharing insights and asking for help and having very human insights also, not only work related, and really understand how people are feeling and reach out in the need. And on Friday, we had this roundtable in the ministry, and already on Saturday morning, we had the offer out to schools to use it for free. And we renamed the value proposition to Virtual Teachers Lounge. And the interest towards the product in the first upcoming days was something we have never seen. For example, if we got like 5 interests during the week previously, then during the COVID period, it was 500. So it made us really redesign our onboarding processes and how to make it self-serve and self-explanatory super fast. And it boosted many of our processes. And I had to make those explanatory walkthrough videos. I was doing them in my bathroom. You know yourself doing those podcasts that if you have a bathroom which is echoing a lot, this is not the best idea. So pretty soon I moved into a closet to do those. So it was pretty fast and sleepless times for the past first few weeks to really being there for the schools and helping them to onboard and really understand how this could help them right now. So really, this was very heavy growth period for Clanbeat in learnings, like how to learn very fast. I think we did 1 year worth of learning in 1 month.
Schools are opening again all around the world. What do you think of the situation? What's going to happen in the next few months? And also a bit more longer term question. What do you think of the future of educational learning?
I think that the period gave a really big boost to all of those innovations about to happen anyway in education field, and just speeding up the process. But I have been in contact with many school leaders around the world, and the situation is a little bit different because the lockdown rules are different in each country. And some of the countries, for example, our Australian partners, are going into second term of lockdown and having to come out of that again. So this is really tiring for the school staff and for students also. So going in and out is some new normal which needs to be taken into mind, which could happen in the past year. But I think in a few years' time, the digital literacy and being able to get rid of some process which are inefficient. These changes are happening right now. Although I see a lot of digital fatigue around schools, nobody wants to stare at the screen anymore and looking for ways of how to get away from them. But also, I see a lot of efficiency happening and trying to make the school system more efficient. Most of the changes won't happen in 2 to 5 years, but I think in 10 years' time, we are able to see already pretty drastic change in personalized learning, which is effective and humane. And I think this COVID period gave a really good push for this. So for education, I think although right now it's hard, but I don't. I haven't seen many good things in life which come out of not hardships, but being in your comfort zone. So this is totally out of comfort zone, and this brings heavy growth. And I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Do you have a vision of the future? You know, how kids going to school in 10 years, how does it differ from today and maybe from the times we were at school?
Oh, I do. For example, right now our school system is from industrial age, where parents needed to go to work in a factory from 9 to 5, and you needed basically a childcare to take care of the kids so they wouldn't set the house on fire, and they needed to produce more workers into the factories. But nowadays, all things are going to be done by robots, which are mundane tasks, and we do not need this kind of education anymore. And my vision is that education is highly personalized based on human needs. And I really believe that someday there is a possibility for every person to have 100% individualized learning based on their internal motivation, based on their strengths, weaknesses, and basically where they want to go in life. And I know that this is already in the strategies of OECD, and also in many countries, education strategies is to offer personalized learning, but there is still a big way to go towards that. But COVID also gave a really big push towards that to make it happen. And my vision is that every human would be looked as individual, not as some bulk of people. And there would be the way how to offer this kind of education, because this is much more efficient. I think right now in the school system we are having today, this is highly inefficient. Students are wasting their time for the tasks which are not the best for them, or for level of complexity which is meant for them. So I think there is a lot to do in education, and I'm really excited and inspired by the opportunity.
Are there already some good benchmarks or leaders in this field? Can you give some example where this is already happening maybe and the others are following?
Yes, there is actually the way how change in education is made. Right now, we are seeing a lot of experimental schools trying different formats of how to provide education. We have democratic schools where students are choosing what they learn. We have project-based schools, for example, like Elon Musk school, where you're having really determined goals based on what you are having your learning designed upon. And there are many different alone triers who are trying to make the change, but there is no systematic worldwide approach to this. And I think if everybody is trying it to do alone in their corner, then I think this is really hard to bring the change. Because educational change takes time. You're starting to see the results not today, tomorrow, but maybe after 15 years, because like you can't see how the students are like getting on with their lives before that. And the goal is to have humans who are well balanced and are able to bring positive change into their life. And this can be measured only once they have stepped into the life. And this is something which could be done more and more efficiently. I think it's the same with any big topic in the world. Is it climate change, or is it going to the moon? If you see that countries are putting their backs together, then this is something which might give more power. But if you're looking our last success stories on how the Musk put the rocket much more faster than any other country was able to do that, then I really believe that there is also a chance for those people who are trying to change the very big system in a smaller setting, but in very agile and iterative method. And how I have approached it is in very collaborative co-creation method, to do it really together with the people and for the people. So I'm not doing things alone in my closet and thinking out how the education should look, but I'm really in really close contact with all the school leaders, teachers, and what's most important, with the students, and like designing this journey together with them. We are out of ice cream because we are having so much kids coming to our office to think together with us. And even today we had an ideation brainstorming where we included students into the brainstorming to really create the solution for the future, because we are old, although no female should say it, but we don't know how the world should look like in 30 to 40 years, and kids are having much more better knowledge on that. So I think the key in here is to work it out together with them who have to actually go through this.
How do you develop the system? It is a software what you're building, so how do you involve the end users, and what's the process there? Are you totally customer driven there, or can you open a bit of the process how you work?
We are having a very clear future vision, how the future should look like, but the means how to get there, we are really collaborative with the schools. Our future idea is that it should be very humanized and personalized learning, but how to make it happen and what is best fitting their lives and how people want to learn today, where they are digital natives and are used to instant gratification and are really grown up in age where they are used to speaking up about what they want. And this is something which inspires us to collaborate a lot. And we have built our company totally based on co-creation model. So every aspect of our process is collaborational, starting from value proposition design to product design to UX testing and etc. We are really excited to see how this turns out in the future.
You said you built a company from the beginning with these product design principles. Is it something which you brought to the table and was very clear from the beginning came about?
Yes. Because my previous background is that I have been a service designer, and design thinking is in my blood and in my core. And I'm really passionate about building up services from customer perspective, not from my own perspective. Although I do have a vision, but how to solve real human problems, which are wider than myself. I try not to be egoistic here, but I try to really collaborate and find the means which are really solving people's problems. And I'm putting their problems also always the first position and trying to think out how to solve them. So this has been our core from the day one we have been building solution for the schools.
If I just open my eyes and realize that I've been doing the wrong way all my life, and now it's time to do it the right way, how should I start? What should I do?
First, reach out to some people who do you think are your target group and speak with them, and start with qualitative interviews and really to understand what's going on in their lives, and really try to understand how does they look like and what is their usual problems they are having, and then you should go a little bit more specific, which is baked to your service or the product you are offering. But you have to see the wider ecosystem. Where do you fit in? And if you don't do that, you're going to have very, very narrow vision and build only a product, but maybe not the solution for them. So I think this is important to have those open-hearted questions and conversations in the beginning and really build a relationship with your target market. So I think this is the first way how to start.
Are there any good resources, any good books or anything where I should learn a bit more about the approach?
Yes. Maybe for the good starters, there is this is service design thinking, and there is this is service design doing. These are really thick but very thorough and very explanatory materials, which I recommend a lot. And also there is a good book called Value Proposition Design, which gives a good beginning how to design a value proposition which is aligned to the market needs. And this is where you should actually start, because this is a little bit slower than usually startups are used to build things, because this takes a little bit effort and time to really understand what your customers want and build the value proposition based on that, not based on what you thought alone, what you should build. But it really pays off because you're building something which solves real problems. So this is something I recommend you to start with.
I was just actually thinking that the other day I was interviewing Petri from Grow and Convert, and he was studying marketing at school, and they were watching a movie by Mel Gibson. Do you know the name of the movie?
This one movie by Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it's related to the service design. It's called What Women Want.
Yes, I've seen that.
Petri said that, it was sort of life-changing for him, because he was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to build products, which people want, and, customer research and all these things. So it's opened his eyes to to this approach.
It's a really good example, because there are different ways of observation or getting those insights, what people want, and doing observation on your own is the lowest level you can do. The second one is to talk to people, but the third and the best way is actually to be together with them in the same environment they are and really live the life they are living. So, for example, when we went into accelerator in San Francisco to 500 startups, then I really took the time, and I was physically sitting in companies which were our target clients, and I was really checking out the vibe, what is there, how people are communicating with each other, how much do they share the information with each other, and how they are actually building the relationships, and this gave me a lot of insights, and I'm really thankful for that effort, because this really takes time to put yourself in there and do those observations, but you might find out things which are life-changing, as you said.
How did you manage to do that? Did you have some kind of a covered, job there? Or what was the backstory? You just wandering in the office and talking to people, or, you were sort of pretending to do something else, so they just, let you wander around the office and ask questions?
I was, in some companies, I was presented as a new team member, and in some companies, I was presented as a friend who is just using it as a co-working space. You can think of different creative ways how to infiltrate into the environments. But sometimes it's also okay to say that you're observing and you're not going to use the information against them, but this is something you're trying to make a better good for the humanity. So this is also a way to approach it.
Sounds to me that it's like as natural as when you pull out your camera and start to shoot people, and it's like act normal.
No, but it takes time a little bit to really to get chatting, and soon enough they forget. And I also had this really inspiring visit to one of the photo exhibitions in Fotografiska in Tallinn, and there was this one photo exhibition of the photographer who is doing shoots in the natural habitats of the native people all around the world. And these are really stunning pictures, and you cannot get them if you just jump in and out and you get them. But you really need to live with them months, and soon they forget that there is somebody outsider, and really let themselves to be themselves. And I think this is the most gratifying moment.
You are not unfamiliar to be in front of camera either. You were modeling.
Yes, in my previous life.
You were pretty young when you started.
Yes, that's true.
How did you decide to go from school to the Paris, Milano, and all these places and start professional career as a model?
It wasn't more kind of decision. It was the decision to go into audition was my decision, but I really couldn't imagine it taking off like that. I think I was 14 or 15 where one of the best agencies in Paris came to Estonia and did an audition for the new models. And I sneaked out from my house. I lived in the middle of Estonia in the small fisherman village, and I sneaked out of my house and didn't tell my parents where I went, and I hitchhiked to the city where this took place, because I was from the countryside and I didn't have any spare money to buy a bus ticket. So I thought, I'm going to give it a try.
That was quite brave. If you didn't have any money, you were hitchhiking and you were really dedicated to get there.
Yes, it seemed like a very good adventure. And this was just a regular casting where you just have to walk around and speak a little bit. And they had a camera which really measured the symmetrics of your face, and they made it kind of competition, and I won this competition. And as I was very young, then the owner of the agency was there and said, like, we need a consent from your parents. And how did you get here? I was like, I hitchhiked. And then they felt this kind of really big responsibility that they took a car and they drove with me from this city, which was maybe 2 or 2.5 hours away from my home city. They drove to my parents' place and asked for consent if I could go to Paris. And already after a few weeks, I was on a plane to go to Paris for the first time. And it was also my first plane ride ever. So very exciting times.
How did your parents react? You just come in and it's like, this happened.
They have always been this calm and serene people. And I imagine still how they are able to do that. And raising me up must have not been really easy, because I was rebel sometimes, but they kind of said, okay, and they let me to go alone into Paris, where I have never traveled out of this country more than Helsinki, which was like 2 hours boat ride away. So they were really brave, but this is something which characterizes them. They gave me a lot of freedom to do my own choices, and they were always saying that you can do whatever you put your mind to. So I felt confident, and I didn't feel them being anxious, and this gave me a boost as well. And it seemed totally normal thing to do, because I wasn't even nervous or thinking that this is something extraordinary. This was like, yes, this is happening, let's do it. And I'm still alive. Although my mother told me that one wisdom, she doesn't speak much, but she said, like, only thing that please keep in mind, you can always say no. I didn't understand then what she meant, but now I understand that in every choice in life which you make, you can always say no if you don't want to do it. and it has helped me a lot. And I think it was really nice of them to support me like that.
You have taken some of the lessons of doing a lot of castings and basically pitching and selling to also later in your career. And somewhere you mentioned that it's not much difference to knock on the doors of the VCs and investors and trying to convince them that you have a really good value proposition and they should invest in your company.
Yes, so the way modeling business works is that you go from casting to casting and try to find a client who finds a good fit in how you look and how you act. Usually you have to go through hundreds of castings to get the one really good job, especially so in Paris and Milan or in very high competitive markets. And I learned it in very early age to deal with rejection, to really deal with really understanding like why I'm being rejected or why am I succeeding in sometimes, and really to make this kind of self-reflection and build myself strong, and to have really strong core and understand my own value. And I think it's the same with communicating with investors, that you have to speak to many investors to really get those whom you are having a really good match. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm pretty excited because I truly believe that there is a good match for every reasonable idea there and a team to be executed. You just have to put in the work to find out who are those people. And this is something I took, not to be afraid of hard work and really put time into finding the right people. Who do you want to work with, and really being strong in your core, knowing what is your value and what do you have to offer. And I think these are the two parallels I would love to bring out.
While you were modeling, you were also coding at night. How did that came about?
Yes, when I was I lived 2 years in Hong Kong, so I was Hong Kong resident and doing modeling there, and this was my base. And I traveled out from there to do modeling jobs in Beijing, Singapore, Guangzhou, and etc. And in there was this kind of thing called IT market. It was really huge building where you could buy basically any software which you want. There were Adobe Photoshops for $1 and etc. So you can imagine the excitement where you go there. You see that you could basically get anything and create anything what your mind comes up to. And this was just the beginning where regular websites started to become popular. And I saw that 13 and 14-year-old boys are doing their own websites. And I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I started to be really fascinated by creating my own websites, and it gave me a lot of gratification and a sense of success, because if you're able to make some changes in front end, and if you're able to bring some kind of interactions to happen, this gives this kind of really great feeling. And this is something which others can also benefit. So this gave me this kind of sense of confidence that this is possible. And also this Hong Kong IT market is once in a lifetime opportunity at that time.
Did you become a web developer then by night?
No, not by night. It took a lot of reading and a lot of research, and I wasn't doing backend. I was using programs which did the backend work for me, but I was doing front end and putting things together. So I wouldn't call myself a developer, but a small hacker.
Have you been participating in hackathons with your skills?
Oh, I have, but not with hacking skills, because once I went into hackathons, then I was already idea owner. So I was pursuing my own ideas and trying to build a team around that. So I thought that my coding skills were that poor that some other people would be better to execute them. But I at least knew how this world works and how to build the code lines.
You were among the top 10 out of 10,000 in one of the competitions.
There was this kind of idea competition by one of the really big telecommunication companies, which basically allowed you to submit your app idea to become an app millionaire. And the one who
What is an app millionaire?
This was just the marketing phrase for them to use that to gain more attraction, basically. So this was a slogan. They used it in a way that if your idea wins, they are going to execute it. And I was inspired by that because I had never built an app, and it was my dream to build something you can hold in your hands and see the interactions you're making with your thumb are actually changing something. So it was very fascinating to me. And I came up with an idea of making an app which monitors your personal relationships with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then you can make decisions based on those trackings.
So you did a spyware?
No, it was not spyware. It was tracking app, which really helps you to track 5 categories of your relationship and really track on how you're doing and show you this kind of helicopter view of your relationship to make the better decisions based on that. Like where do you feel happy and where you don't, and really to ignite meaningful conversations based on that with your other half. If, for example, other half is not so willing to talk about some things, then you can show the data that you see on 24 days, I don't feel that we have been having a very meaningful conversations, or other categories, which I'm not going to list all of them here. But I saw lately that this app is really successful in App Store. It was not the app that I made, but there was some other parallel genius who made it a few years later. So I still think it was a very good idea.
So what happened to the app and the idea? You didn't pursue it further, or?
At the time when I was having the idea, I was working in an advertising agency as an account manager, and I had really exciting projects at hand to lead, and they were consuming all of my time and energy. And although I did make the app prototype happen, I didn't go further with developing it and releasing it to the market because it felt to me that I still have some things to do in the advertising world. But soon enough, it turned out that I had reached my ceiling, and I quit that place.
Can you tell something about the first steps in your company, which is now the Clanbeat? How did you get started? And there's been a few pivots, and there's also been changes in people, and it hasn't been like a linear A to B process.
Sure. So the beginning was very simple, in a way that I left the job at advertising agency and started freelancing as a service designer. And I had one really inspirational client who was dealing with talent management. And they really wanted me to look into how talent moves in mobile channels and what motivates them to wake up in the morning and etc. And focusing mainly on smart creatives. And together with them, I found out during research that smart creatives, those who are creating value with their mind, most of them who quit are doing it because of lack of self-development. And then I was thinking, this just happened to me. This is the story of my life. And I put one and one together and talked to one of the jury members actually from this app competition. And he was building up an Estonian startup called Pipedrive. And he said that they are in a heavy growth period right now, and they are having onboarding a lot of young people who are millennials, and those HR tools which are focusing on 1-year performance review format is not suitable for this new demographics, and we really wanted to bring out the solution which is suitable for those who need instant feedback and don't want the boss, but more kind of coach or a partner in their development. And he had a need and I had a solution because I had done my research, and soon enough I came up with the wireframes, and then we started going and started making baby steps and getting our team together as well alongside with the market research.
Who were your first clients?
We had awesome first clients. One of our first clients was Telia Web and Innovation Team. Telia is one of Estonia's and Scandinavia's telecommunication companies. We had Volvo, Ericsson, we had TransferWise, we started off thinking that we are going to build this product for startups and fast-moving companies, but soon enough we found out that clients came from small and medium-sized businesses as well, who were more mature and really wanted to make their people happy. And that time our value proposition was one-on-one tool for teams. So we were building one-on-one tool, and it offered the service of building trust between employees and managers. And we started off by building the product for startups, but soon enough built new functionalities to also think of where the trust building starts from. And we started also to build functionalities for onboarding, but not only technical onboarding, but human onboarding. How do you bring a human to the new organization, and how to create the sense of belonging? So those were the topics which inspired us a lot back then.
And then something happened. You were almost like left alone with the company.
Yes, because my co-founder at the time, with whom I started the company, really loved the startup vibe, and he was really good at it. And then we made a shift to build new features for onboarding. And then we realized that our clients are not anymore startups. They are small and medium-sized businesses. And this is totally different target group than startups. And then there you have to talk with HR managers, and the talks are getting much more different. It's not so much anymore making people thrive and inspired, but it's more kind of numbers and how fast can you onboard somebody, and how to bring the engagement up, and etc. So the topics at hand were much more different. And my co-founder back then really honestly admitted that he is really inspired by the startup scene and he really wants to contribute in that area. So he left, and there I was. Having the clients, having the product, and needing to make a decision what to do next.
Are there any lessons learned? How you were feeling? How did you make the decisions? I can imagine it's not easy to wake up and realize that you have to do something. You cannot just hide under the blanket and go back to sleep and just hopefully the things will be okay next few days. This is probably something which happens to other people as well. So do you have any advice what to do?
Yes, there actually were a few days like that as well, as you described. But for me, very eye-opening was to think of this as an opportunity, not an obstacle, because I saw that there is an opportunity to do whatever I want in life. So this was this kind of white paper sheet day for me. And
hitchhiking again.
Hitchhiking again. Yes, exactly. And then I started to brainstorm, like, if I wouldn't be doing this, what would I do then? And I really went wild and open with it and started brainstorming it. And
what were the other options there? Can you reveal and remember some of those?
Yes. I knew pretty closely that I wanted to be in a tech scene because this is something which fascinates me. And the other options were also related to making people happy, basically, based on either based on their health or based on their personal growth. And then I realized that I already have that. The solution we are having is actually already doing that. And I thought that if I would start something new, then I would build something similar. Then why should I put in the effort to do something similar if I already have that? So, and then I started to really critically look into the engagement levels of the product we had, and really looking for this kind of excitement. Is there any kind of excitement somewhere I see? And I found out that the schools, I had taken some pro bono schools who were using us, and I was really surprised by their engagement levels, because they were much more higher than the old school companies or startups who were using us. And I went to talk to the school principals, and those things they were saying were very inspirational. They said they have no people to deal with people. They said that they don't have time to deal with or to either gather everybody's problems. So they see the red flags only when shit hits the fan, basically. So it's really hard for them to prevent some things happening, and they are dealing with fires and aftermath constantly. So, and then I started to thinking that this is the place where like real problems. Startups are really well cushioned and doing pretty well in their people management and engagement and development, but the schools are actually needing the love like the most. And I was really inspired by the problem and the opportunity. I understood that the solution which we are having right now might not solve all their problems they are having, but I saw the clear vision what I could solve and what I could not solve. And then I started working together with schools really, really closely, and found out that not only school staff and teachers are having those problems, students as well. And many of those schools who started to use us asked us, can we use your solution with students? And then I understood that we have to create a separate solution for students as well, which would be like student-centric and appropriate for the age levels, which is actually carrying the same values of growth and well-being. And I haven't regretted it since, but it all required this kind of looking into yourself and really understanding what do you want to do and what is your vision. And I think this like feeling of letting everything go, if you could do anything and you know that you couldn't fail, this kind of answers and questions are really good. How to start thinking that if you couldn't fail, what would you do? And I started asking those questions, and it brought me some clarity.
It's amazing feeling when you basically going deep and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't really need to do anything. There's nothing I absolutely have to do, but there are things I can do and
Yes.
I want to do. And then when you dig deep, and it's not like you do it like reverse engineering, but you really do the work, and then you realize that, whoopsie, I'm actually already there. I don't need to just turn 180 degrees or do something different. I already have the resources and the means, and I'm in a pretty nice place. But the feeling is completely different.
Yes.
Because you discovered again the passion and the joy of doing what you do. It's not like you have to do it again.
Yes, and this is really important because the journey to ignite and start something is not easy. You have to go through a lot of hardships, and if you don't have very clear vision and this strong internal motivation to do it, and you're doing things only because you have to, then you're going to break sooner or later. But if you have things thought through in your head, then only sky is the limit.
Was it easy to let go of the old model and old way of working? Because you were also changing a lot of things. It's probably a bit different to sell to the corporates than sell to schools. The budget and processes are different as well.
Oh, yes.
So it was like completely different product.
It is completely different, and I still feel the most stupid person in a room when I'm talking to clients and when I'm talking to my team, because I totally rebuilt my team for the education focus, to really have the competence in the team who would know how to solve those problems schools are having. I have education specialists, and I have school leaders, and I have education psychology scientists in my team, and working together with them is really inspirational. As I said, I feel so stupid among them. And this inspires me every day, because I think that if you feel the smartest, then you're in the wrong place.
How did you find the right people? Was it easy? Did it take a lot of time to? Probably you had some pressures to do something. When you need something, it may not be that the right people are free, or you discover them at the same time.
Yes, I think it all comes down to vision, what you're having, and if you build up a vision that is aligning to those people as well, and they see the world at the same way you are, then this is promising. But I wouldn't say that this was a key. Some of the new team members I had known already before working in a startup, and I'm really grateful for them because without them, I think the Clanbeat wouldn't be there where it is today. They were Triin Noorkõiv and Tiina Pauklin, who have been in educational scene for a very long time already, and I was helping them to build marketing campaigns in advertising agency. And we had connection before, so we just started talking and seeing the similar connections, and I think this is where it started off. But they were in the beginning not jumping into my team, so it was more kind of me doing things alone and consulting with them from while to while, and once they started seeing the progress and seeing, okay, she's serious with this new education direction, then they started to invest more and more time until I made them an offer to become a partners in my company.
What's your strategy of getting people involved? You're building something for the education and markets which are probably not the most easiest to deal with, and it's long processes, and it's not exactly like software for hipsters or something which is really trendy and easy that way, and the tech world is gonna eat from your hand. Your target market is different, so how do you manage to do that, and what's your success story there?
I think that the reason how the way how we are approaching building the product is already giving a lot of advantage for us to get the right partners to be our first customers, meaning that we are building it in co-creation with the schools, and we are having many schools in our co-creation circle, and as they have built it, as they are building it for themselves, then this starts already a really nice circle of people who are going to be recommending and who are going to give pointers how to enter the markets because they have already invested so much into this co-creation process of their time. And in education field, we have discovered that direct sales and marketing are not the ones which work in entering the markets. It's based on networks, people recommending it to each other. It's based on good references, and you really have to build something which works and creates an impact. And this is what we have taken our strategy to build something so good they cannot ignore.
And if you involve people from the very beginning when you're building the product, you probably become very intertwined with the world as well. So you have a network effect there, and really hard for others to copy what you're doing. They can copy your features, but it's more than that what you are having. Has this been something you already seen some benefits, and do you think you can become the next unicorn in Estonia?
This is our ambition, yes. Although if you're taking word of mouth and the cadence of education, then the processes are there much more slower than they are in, for example, fintech or any consumer product you can see. For example, the decisions for getting new products into the schools are sometimes made yearly, and they are having yearly budget cycles and etc. So right now we are hacking the model of how to beat the yearly cycles of education, and we have some really good ideas in there. But I also believe that the change in there is with a little bit different rhythm than we are used to be seeing in regular unicorns like Bolt or TransferWise, for example.
But if your vision is everyone gonna have their own self-development plan, I hear a Stripe account and 8 billion people, human to human.
Mm-hmm. Totally possible, because why should we look only to schools? Every human needs support in their self-development and being self-directed learner. And lifelong learning is becoming more and more aware in the world, because as we spoke earlier, then we don't need so much workers who have to do manual labor, and people need to reskill and upskill themselves in every 5 years sometimes, because the world is changing so fast. And I think there is a really big need for how to build up your journey of growth very sustainably, so you wouldn't be burned out on this process of constant change, because like it's really important to find methods how to unstuckify yourself.
What have you learned in movie making?
I have learned that movie making business can also be disrupted if you're having a startup mindset to it. It can be really exciting.
What does that mean?
It means that you don't have to make movies as they have always been done. You can make things faster with a smaller set of people, with many iterations, and not quietly in your closet and then come out with a big bang, but also to do this kind of constant ping-ponging against the market and really designing your end product in a way that it would be really there for the market, so everybody would understand it once it is there. So like iterative method of movie making, I think, is a really nice thing I have witnessed lately.
Are there any good stories, or maybe you can give some references, what are those great new movies?
Yes, I would totally want to highlight one Estonian movie about startups, and it's called Chasing Unicorns. And this is made in a startup-ish way, and it has been really successful in a way that those people who have looked at it and have been in the startup scene, or even not in the startup scene, are feeling and living those pains, because they are so real. And the reason behind it is that because they are real. They are crowdsourced in a way that the director really wanted to get the stories which are true to life, but put them into the movie, which is not documentary, but is really in a fun and engaging way, speaking real stories, which are really relatable to those who are doing startups and who have to look at it from the side, maybe.
I start to see a pattern here. You can basically apply this same model for whichever business or walk of life. You just talk to people and you ask them things, and then you just deliver the things to them, and they're like, "Whoa, hey, this reflects and sounds exactly like my life. I will buy this thing."
Yeah, why not? Totally good idea. And I think like design thinking is something you can apply to almost anything, also to your personal relationships, to city government, to country government, to global warming change. There are different levels in where you can approach and use this. So I think this really fascinating and really useful.
So what's your next huge challenge? Are you gonna... Well, I'll let you answer that one after Clanbeat.
After Clanbeat, I haven't actually thought so long ahead, because I do not believe in making 5-year plans or 10-year plans.
Yeah, we're not in Soviet times anymore.
Yes, thank God for that. Yes, and I really want to create the impact with Clanbeat right now, and this is my biggest passion. And I really haven't thought what comes after. And is there any after? This is still something I haven't figured out.
Yeah, you have a mission for 8 billion people. It may take a bit of time, but then, it could be that Elon Musk is already, shipping people to Mars. So, then you have another mission.
Yes, we need to get internet to Mars so they could also be self-directed learners and have their personal development taken care of.
What makes you happy?
My family, my health, and people who are not full of hate but love.
How do you define success?
Success is a feeling for me, and it is something which is different for every person. For some persons, success is being able to wake up in the morning and see. For some people, it's success is being a $1 billion company CEO. For me, success is having a very good health and well-balanced life, and especially mental health. If mental health is causing you problems, then I think any other area in your life is not going to be succeeding.
How do you keep up your mental health? Do you go running, or do you go surfing, or what do you do?
Yes, very good guesses. I do both. And besides that, which both fall into being physically active categories, I do like outdoor sports, and I like extreme sports, and I like to put myself into uncomfortable situations. So when I do get into uncomfortable situations by organically, not by purpose, then I don't feel so uncomfortable. And besides physical exercise and mindfully putting myself into uncomfortable situations, I also do journaling. I start my mornings with doing journaling, and this really centers me and gives me a really good focus, and gives also the possibility to get everything out of my monkey mind, which are clustering and getting on my way of having a really good day. So this gives this kind of peace of mind.
What is your favorite word?
I would say agency, and I would love to give a small explanation. It's not advertising agency or any other agency, it's human agency. And I have discovered it lately, and I find it utterly intriguing because in social science, agencies defined as a capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices. And, and this is becoming more and more important in our day world. And sometimes the ability to be in your full agency is suppressed by religion or gender or your customs or anything society puts on you. But I think agency comes from really strong self management skills, and this is something I feel very fascinating to think. And the word agency is pretty new to me. I found it out a few years ago that this kind of word exists, so I would love to preach to the world what it means.
What is your least favorite word?
I think hate, because I don't have any hate in me, and I don't resonate with that, and yeah, hate.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
People, but I think this is like the most common answer you could get. So I would switch
I think you're the first one. Audience may correct me, send me a tweet, or give me feedback if I'm wrong.
But yeah, people basically, because I'm inspired by people and by their problems and how they overcome it, and really getting into the core of their why, and this is really really inspiring. And besides people, I like open spaces like mountains and desert.
You have to mention a few people, who are you really inspired by. Give us a few names.
Yes, I don't actually. This is a really good question because I don't have role models like whom I can say names, because for me every person is. I can find something inspirational in every person, and you don't have to be something extraordinary. So I could learn from you. So I really love the diversity of people, and I do not have specific role models to whom I inspire to.
What turns you off?
Mundane tasks and paperwork where I see that it gives zero value or impact, and I really try to eliminate them from my life. Getting more and more successful with that, but still not there. So I know what I'm talking about.
What is your favorite curse word?
I say a lot, damn it or oh shit.
What sound or noise do you love?
I think this might be a little bit weird, but I love when babies are crying. I've loved it since I was little, and this is really like opportunistic, but because like if somebody's crying, then there's a possibility that you could make it better. you could just hold them or feed them, and they would stop crying. So this is kind of a voice of opportunity to make somebody's life better, maybe.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Car, boat, or any vehicle noises that are fuel powered. I think that this is so unnecessary and so yesterday.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I could try coaching, I think, or teaching. That would be nice, but this is not too far from what I do already. But if to totally looks to some other direction, then I totally love hospitality business and making people feel good. And I think I wouldn't be a very good waiter, but I would be a very good hotel owner or receptionist or somebody who really tries to be welcoming and making people feel at home. So having a small hotel or just a room to make people good, I think it's a nice alternative.
What profession would you not like to do?
Tax controller or parking controller. I cannot imagine any school kid or young person having a dream of becoming a tax controller or parking controller. I even cannot imagine how to find inspiration in that job. Like you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, it's a great day. I can find people or I can make somebody's life miserable. So this is not something I would love to do.
If you could be a co-founder of any startup in any era, which one would you choose?
I would choose biohacking or health. These two topics are also dear to my heart besides education and personal growth.
Do you have some company name or it's just a generic topic?
It's a generic topic. I really believe in human potential, that it's right now we have not reached our limit. It could come from our mind, but it could come from our body as well. So right now I'm trying to deal with the mind part to unlock those limits and unlock people in their potential. But also I think there is a lot to do in physical way as well. But I don't have any companies whom do I envy at who are doing a really good job. Although I'm a really avid user of one company who is not doing biohacking or any medicine work, but I'm drinking this mushroom coffee by Four Sigmatic, and I think this is a really good small start to something. But this is not the full potential that could be used there by humans. So I think we can do better.
I'm just wondering whether you're hacking again, at nighttime. This time biohacking.
Biohacking, yeah. I'm not biohacking right now, but last few weeks have been really putting a toll on my regular schedule and trying to find the ways how to be more effective and more impactful, and really finding out how to not spend much energy on those things that don't matter and those things that do matter. And yes.
Any final words for the audience?
I'm really keen to one saying, and this is for doing things based on love, not fear. And this is really dear to me because I have found it out only lately. And if our audience could also think about this rather sooner than later, then this is a really good mind exercise. If you're thinking of those things which you're doing and trying to scale those things on your days, are you doing those things because you're afraid that somebody is not going to think you're not good enough, or thinking that you're going to get a fine, or somebody is going to get you fired for that? Then I would also love to think that if you're thinking of those things which you're doing because you think this is good for somebody or for yourself or for the world, and to see the difference in the emotions you're having with those tasks, and really trying to make more things in your days which you're doing out of love, not of fear. And I think you're unlocking a lot of your potential and energy in a way that doing things from fear takes a lot of energy. And you're always like double guessing and thinking, is it right or not, and you're wasting so much energy. But if you're doing things from love, then you're going into this flow state and you're able to achieve much more. So this is something I would love to people to think about for a while.
Thank you, Kadri.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this talk.
Thank you for listening. You can find full episode notes and transcripts at talkswithpetri.com. How would you like to engage with the guests and include yourself to the discussion? Would you like to have some Facebook group or some live Ask Me Anything sessions with the guests, or just talk with me? Let me know your thoughts. And if you like the show, please share the episode with 2 persons who you think would like the show. Till next time.